Um, Bobby, can you hear me?
I can.
Very good. Okay, we're about to start the meeting. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Maybe we get it through his voice through there.
All right. Yeah, please. Wayne, Mr. Chairman, we're ready when you are.
I'll call this meeting of the July 23rd meeting of the Plan Commission to order. The mayor apologizes for not being here this evening. He has a conflict. I'm Wayne Clark. I'll be chairing the meeting. Next order will be a roll call, please.
Thank you, Wayne. Wayne Clark.
Yes.
Brian Frank.
Yes.
Brandon Reinke.
Here.
Kathleen Dagenhart.
Here.
Jessica Katzenmeyer.
Here.
And Lisa Coons on Syria. So we have 5 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes of the June 25th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any changes or corrections? There being none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next is the new and previous matters. Numbers 2 and 3 will be taken together. The site landscaping and architectural design review for F Street 92 and the certified survey map to split the existing parcel at 1405 South 92nd Street into 2 parcels. They're being taken together.
Thank you, Wayne. Just queuing up the PowerPoint presentation here, and Emily Wagner from our planner is going to present the F Street proposal at the former St. Aloysius.
Thank you.
Emily, as soon as I can take it away. Yeah.
As previously mentioned, we're taking 2 and 3 together, and this is kind of a part 2 of a previous plan commission that we've had regarding this project. It's a very natural follow-up. So overall, we are looking at 1405 South 92nd Street and 1414 South 93rd Street. The previous approval, you folks had seen in May, was for a demolition, which is slated to end in September, and we will have a little update on this slide for folks just to see what's going on there, because there's a lot happening. The current request is for 2 phases of site redevelopment and a certified survey map to split the site. Overall, the zoning of the site is RC, and the CSM is designated to split the lot into 2 parcels, one on the northern half of about 1.47 acres, and the second toward the south of about 1.52 acres. Do you want to come back?
Thank you. Okay.
And that just shows you the CSM as proposed. Gonzaga will remain on site, adjacent to this site, but it will pertain to its own parcel. This proposal comes at a very interesting time where we, of course, are looking for more housing and more diversity of housing as identified in our 2045 comprehensive plan. In terms of phasing for these upcoming stages, we are looking for the completion of the stacked flat homes in Q3 of 2026 and the mid-rise apartments completed in Q2 of 2027. So in the near future, we'll see a lot happen. Here's just a brief update that we've received from our departments regarding the activities that are occurring inside. So we're seeing a lot of asbestos abatements. The gym has completely been torn down, and they're looking at electric termination of services for the church. You want to go to the next picture?
Sure. Get this straight eventually. There we go.
That's currently what it's looking like. So a lot happening on the site, but it's very exciting, and we're enthusiastic to hear this proposal. The site plan as proposed offers 3 buildings for a total of 147 units. Building A, of course, is that stacked flat multi-level side-by-side. Previously identified in my staff report as garden style apartments, we've received an amendment to that for technical architectural style, though the overall look and feel remains the same. Building B essentially mirrors Building A, offering an additional 21 units, and Building C is the mid-rise apartment complex, which will have 105 residential units. Parking is proposed on site, of course, with covered parking, surface parking largely in the interior and south of the site, with 200 stalls in total, with a parking ratio of 1.36, well under our parking maximum requirement of a ratio of 2.0. Gonzaga again will remain in operation unimpeded by the proposed developments, and it seems that the Gonzaga Living Apartments are in close coordination with the developers, as certain site considerations have been made to ensure the privacy and parking for Gonzaga will remain. One of the key highlights of this site plan is the awesome pedestrian circulation that we'll see inside, as well as existing connections to the public, or proposed connections to the public right of way, and good circulation for automobiles in the interior. But that's best shown in the next picture. This is what we're looking like for the most up-to-date site plan. As indicated, buildings A, B, and C are on the site, and building C will be accessible by a variety of means. Primarily, there's going to be underground parking identified for this building off of 93rd Street. But we'll talk a little bit more about parking in the future. Some key site features here are going to be the dog run and grilling patio as really nice amenities for the residents of this apartment. Those will be fenced in with a 4-foot-high picket style fencing. And this essentially will occur within 2 phases for this proposed development. First phase will be of building A and B and their associated parking areas. And the second phase will be the second half of the site with more parking and building C. So, to go over the landscaping, parking, and lighting plans, we've noted that extensive landscaping is proposed to enhance the tree cover, shrubbery, ornamental grasses, and perennials on site. Key indicated species include potentially maples, honey locust, arbor vitae, juniper, hydrangea, lilac, and decorative grasses. The grass type used for a bulk majority of the site will be turf hydroseed, with some not necessarily grading concerns, but we'll put it as considerations. Certain grading that you'll see in later renderings of the site do appear to be very steep, and they did have an indicated grading plan. So we just want to make sure that whatever is planted for that turf hydro seed, takes roots and adequately fills in on that site. We note also on this plan that fencing is indicated with existing chain link fencing to the south of the site, which will be replaced by 5-foot-high cedar. A refuse enclosure is indicated as a 6-foot-high steel-framed aluminum with paneling and a gate as well. Bicycle parking, of course, is proposed through this new development, with outdoor parking proposed, but details are further pending. Indoor bicycle parking is demonstrated on their parking plan for the covered parking of Building C, and we just wanted to note that they need to meet the 28 indoor stalls requirements for Section 19.44 of the code. In total, 200 parking stalls are proposed in 2 phases, with phase 1 seeing 22 in-unit garages for those stacked flats, an adjacent 22 driveway stalls and 20 surface stalls. And phase 2 is going to offer 69 covered parking off of that 93rd Street entrance, as well as 62 surface parking stalls. A lighting plan has been submitted for approval with minor updates pending. And just from the Planning and Zoning Department, we do want to ensure that internal pedestrianization walkways are adequately lighted, as well as all of the different entrances and the covered garage entrances as well. We did also want to note that due to the rising popularity of electric vehicles, that an electric vehicle station should be provided on site too, and is a really good idea. So here I just highlighted some of the landscaping features that we're looking to enhance. Again, toward that southern parking lot sites, between the cedar fencing, there should be a little bit more landscaping just to ensure that folks who pull into those parking stalls are not shining their headlights to the adjacent residences, because there's a whole neighborhood of residences just to the south there. Additionally, when staff conducted a site visit to this proposal, it noted that 92nd Street has a lot of ash trees that are in need of some help, either removal or replacement to some degree, but these efforts will be coordinated with our forestry departments. Here is the landscaping plan just for those stacked flats. We see a strong tree canopy along the periphery of the site with more of those shrubbery, grasses, and ornamentals within. Sorry. And then for those mid-rise apartments, a strong tree presence along 92nd Street with, again, shorter ornamentals, really allowing for those brand new windows to be highlighted on the site. But it should look very nice. Just because we don't necessarily, or I didn't necessarily provide a bird's eye view of that covered parking, here's what it's going to look like inside. As indicated, there are a couple of bicycle parking areas there that will have to accommodate up to 28 spaces, and accessible spaces are noted on this plan as well. The floor and architectural plans are very visually striking, and I'm really excited to show you folks some of the renderings here today. But first things first, overall, buildings A and B will offer 21 units apiece, and building C 105 units. The unit mix is shown to the right of that screen for buildings A and B, where largely they're going to be one unit or one bedroom apartments with some junior, a mix of 2 and 3 bedrooms. You want to hit next? And more. And for building C, it's going to be primarily comprised of junior 1 bedrooms and the bulk majority being the 1 and 2 bedrooms for those apartments. Oh, if you want to go back a little, so.
Sure.
For the architectural details, buildings A and B are going to mirror one another very nicely and complement, and they will have 2 balconies that are street facing with 1 rear facing balcony. That building is going to have 21 private entrances, and that is an amendment I wanted to make from the staff report, a detail I've gotten incorrect. Each individual unit will have its own entrance. For building C, we're going to see tall storefront style glazed windows at the corners and amenity spaces for that site, with the northern elevation noting 3 balconies per floor and the eastern elevation noting one balcony per floor. It's going to be a 3-story tall building with a shared walk-up entrance off of Greenfield Avenue. Materials proposed here are going to be dark brown, white, and tan fiber cement wall paneling with blue accent paneling. Textured gray concrete and tan wood look wall paneling will also be included, but we'll let the pictures speak for themselves a little bit more. So here this is the rendering that we've been given for those stacked flats. Overall offering a great amenities with those balconies and views of the streetscape. You can see just up from the public right of way at the bottom, there is going to be that elevated pedestrian pathway that will have right of way connections. And here you can kind of get a feel for the grading of the site. It's not necessarily a huge impediment, but it is a consideration when planting those grasses. Next. And here's what that mid-rise apartment building is going to look like. It offers a very interesting and unique architectural style, incorporating that terrace area into the top floor level, as well as an additional patio, concrete balcony sort of thing. It's hard to gauge really based off of like whether it's a first floor or ground floor or not, but that's going to be right beneath. And here's just kind of a rendering for what the overall feel of the site will be. Certain things may shift around and change a little bit, but this gives a really good idea of what the architecture for both of these phases of development would look like in symphony with one another. Overall, we are recommending approval for this site due to the following conditions, and this is an approval for both the CSM as well as the site landscaping and architectural design review. Overall, we're looking for common council approval for that CSM, subject to technical corrections, as well as from our department, we're looking to confirm those 28 indoor bicycle parking spots, as well as showing the location of those outdoor bicycle parking spots as well. We'd ask for the provision of at least 1 electric vehicle charging station in the parking plan. We would like for the developers to increase landscaping screening for the southern lots and overall plan subject to the city forestry review. We're looking for some additional coordination with city forestry about adding or the replacement of street trees around the site. And then we also seek fencing details for the overall site, as well as I've crossed off the replacement of the chain link that was a detail that was further filled in. but just indicating some of those fencing details directly on the site plan. We're also looking for the submission of some more of those minute refuse enclosure details, as well as the more details regarding the retaining wall. I understand that it will be replaced with a new retaining wall, but we would like to see those indicated on the site plan. And then just a confirmation of the grading plan with respect to the slope of the driveway entrance as indicated by our engineering department, just to ensure that no one is scraping their cars entering or exiting from those mid-rise style apartments. We would also ask to see additional coordination with building inspections as well as our engineers for that stormwater permit to be obtained. And lastly, looking to the city engineering department's requirements, they have asked for a traffic impact memo to be prepared, driveway permits to be applied for and obtained, and the northern entrance on South 92nd Street to be amended to be a right-in, right-out situation with the median island extended. Signage plans are still pending, though signage has been indicated for the site and appears to be of high quality, and a lighting plan has also been submitted for design review. So with that, based on our plan commission checklist, we note that there are a lot of good things going through this development, such as the building orientation being really reminiscent of the former church. We think that the scale of this development is appropriate, as well as the density, phasing from a higher density development along Greenfield Avenue, working your way to the south with those townhomes lessening that density to transition really well into that neighborhood and those single family style residences. But overall, a high quality design and plans have been submitted, and we recommend approval.
I appreciate your presentation. Has the developer agreed to these items that are listed? For example, the EV charging port and so forth?
We have not specifically discussed the EV charging, but we have informed them of our general recommendations and conditions. They have since provided us with some updates on Friday and on Monday regarding our plans and regarding these conditions. But we're still on the works a little bit about it, but there is a level of awareness, most certainly.
Mr. Chair, Wayne, Nick Young is here of F Street as well as the Rinka team. And if there are specific questions of, like the electric charging, I mean, they could certainly entertain those as well.
Let's check with my colleagues here. Questions from any of the plan commissioners?
I know we have a special guest here, Alderwoman Susan.
Absolutely.
To share some thoughts. I'm sure that's the reason why she's here and she represents this district. So
Thank
I'd
you.
like to give you some time to share some thoughts.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you all for allowing me to come and set your domain. As alders, Dana and I have been working very closely with our community on this development, and I have some feedback, which I think we addressed after in the one meeting. It's not going to be there, so if you can assist on anything, please let me know. I see that the refuse enclosure has been moved, so that's a positive thing. The one thing that Dana and I collectively feel is missing, especially with this diagram, is the property is being cohesive. They're two separate properties, but you look at the stack units, they look very nice. They've got the sloped roof. I think what we get in feedback from our residents is they're not liking the cookie cutter style of most of the developments that are going on. I think especially with this property and the history of it, and I guess the attack that people have to have a homage nod to St. Aloysius, that maybe there could be a little bit more character pieces put to it. At this stage, I think that the white is very stark. It almost looks medicinal, like an office building. If I were opposed to the design, I think that when the colors came back to us and we viewed them, I didn't realize that was going to be primarily white. And I don't know if we have agreement on it, but Alderwoman Keenan and I spoke about that today. Secondly, I wanted to ask you a question on the right in and right out on 93rd. So there's going to be no access from Greenfield Avenue to get into the parking structure. So you can't turn left onto 93rd.
I believe it's a right in, right out on 92nd Street, if that amends the situation. Yeah, the site plan gives a really good indication. Or are you talking about the covered parking driveway there? That I don't believe will be a right in, right out. That is a two-way. But the right in, right out situation pertains to the second access to the right of that site plan. That was what was indicated within the extension of our engineering department.
And secondly, the biggest thing is the traffic. Now, mind you, I think many of the residents are just used to St. Helens being vacant. So they forget that it actually was a busy church at one point. But with that being said, 93rd is really tricky. I see that we're gonna have a traffic study done on that. But this is really more of the state of Wisconsin issue onto Greenfield Avenue. Any of those streets to exit and turn left onto, it's a disaster. So there is gonna be much more flow going through the residential areas and kind of Elm and Lapham, I would think, or, kind of working around. So that's a concern. I would ask that, has there been any consideration for like any caution lights or anything in those areas, like off of 92nd, for example? Because we also have the school and kids walking to school. And we have a lot of traffic on 92nd.
Understandable. We did field these type of questions and we did field the traffic question to our engineering department. At this time, they had not identified any specific prescriptions to that degree. So, it's always worth taking a look at and getting their opinion of that. And in consideration of the traffic impact statement that may be prepared, certain things may change, such as that. But I'm a little bit newer. I don't necessarily work within the engineering department, so we largely defer to their judgment on those type of interventions.
I appreciate it, Emily. And like I said, just kind of going back to my first statement, I think the white is just too much white. I don't know if we can work on that, the color scheme, and change it up. Color palette's not bad as long as it's not bright yellow or orange like the other Lego buildings in the neighborhood. But I really would like to see, with no offense to anyone, I would like to see a little bit more character in the design, whether it's the roof line, something. That makes it a little bit more cohesive. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The developers, anyone that would like to speak to any of this, issues raised by the alderperson,
Yeah, we can.
you can come forth if you like.
Sure. My name's Evan Carlson. I'm with Brink of the architectural design team. There's a few things I can speak to. The one that I will speak to now is the roof line, specifically with this typology of housing, to introduce a gable roof line similar to what we're seeing on the smaller units. You get a lot of excess and wasted volume of space that you have to deal with mechanically. So that's why traditionally we keep these flat. One of the elements that we leaned into, well, there's many that we could talk through, but one of the elements with respect to those nods to the church was in fact this roof line element, which you can see is canted and is varied from the rest of the flat roof. Part of this element along Greenfield features a few things that I'll point to that are trying to make that nod and create that variation. So the first being taking cues from the St. Aloysius roof line, taking that angle and making that a unique feature to our building, where we are excited about the space it creates for this roof deck, as well as the variation it creates on the facade and on the primary intersections. Additionally, with respect to nods to St. Aloysius, you can see here the variation of colors beyond the white. I'm pointing here to one of our colored fiber cement panels. That patterning is meant to emulate and speak to the patterning of the stained glass on that building. So we additionally tried to bake that into the design, and we've heard comments about the look and feel of materials at the base. We leaned in this variation of design into a stone textured type of fiber cement panel, so additional character and richness at the base of the building. With respect to the white, certainly there's validity to your opinion. We thought that it complements the rest of the materials that we thought we were taking cues from St. Aloysius, say the green being that color of pop, and the blue also tying to that. We felt like white was the neutral medium between those, and then to create that cohesiveness throughout the rest of the site. That's where you're seeing it applied to those stacked flat units. I don't know if I covered everything.
I believe you did, and I think we'll probably look at, traffic study when traffic study comes in and address those issues after that. But I really wanted to just be present to be the voice of the residents, because they're your neighbors, and this is a big deal. And we just want to make sure we get it right. But honestly, with these developments, they look too square. They don't have any character, and we have a pretty cool area. You know, the houses have all kinds of character, and the neighborhoods have character. We just have to focus on that a little bit more, I think. And I see your perception of what the knot is, but it doesn't relate to me personally as a resident who's been here for 40 years and went to the church. And I'm not asking you to redesign the church.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
this is the type of feedback we'll get from it.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. And Steve, if you wanted to point to essentially the dark style imagery, there are
Sure.
additional pieces for texture and variation that we look to incorporate where various elements of privacy and screening for the residents. So, you know, we would point to those as maybe more modern nods, but certainly trying to get some character beyond, you know, what you're perceiving of the white elements. And I think, you know, this is an architectural rendering. Certainly, you know, when it's built, there are joint lines, there's variation. The white paneling actually has a vertical texture to it. It's not cheap lopsided, but it won't read as stark as this. And same with here where I'm pointing, that's the wood look material, which has a richness and a warmth. And we can certainly follow up and share some build projects that utilize those materials to potentially ease some of that concern.
Thank you. I have one final question as far as the staff units for parking. Is that a one-car garage and a driveway slab? So there'll be room for 2 vehicles there. The other concern is not having enough parking. And
Yeah, this product specifically is
there's not enough parking available on the side streets.
yeah, as stated, there's 2 stalls for each unit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a couple of common questions in general. Are there any dedicated visitor parking on the site?
No dedicated visitor parking identified, but we did see, Steve, if you want to go back a little bit on the site plan. We do see an indicated drop-off zone and a spot right adjacent to that. Near that drop-off zone, I believe their lobby will be located, or a lobby or visitor center, so to speak. So they may indicate that first spot there be for prospective tenants or visitors to the site. The general visitor parking will just occur throughout the surface stalls there.
Okay.
Is that a consideration that you would like additional clarification on?
Yeah, it's pushing everybody to the street center visitors. I guess I'm not already concerned about traffic flow in the neighborhood and then cars not parking on the street. I think it's good.
Fair
to
enough.
look at.
Yeah.
And then, are the amenities in building C
Yes,
available to people in A and B?
I believe so, yes. And I totally neglected to go over the amenities. So really quick, folks, we're looking at an outdoor terrace with that patio sort of thing below. Club room, lobby, mailroom, fitness center, and pet spa. So I believe that those amenities will be available to the townhome users as well, which is why we pushed for additional pedestrian circulation interior of that site. So we wanted to ensure that folks from buildings A and B would be able to safely cross and access those amenities.
And then, yeah, I appreciate the design team's comments we just had about kind of incorporating some of the older character into the new building. Obviously, we're not trying to create this old church, so we don't have the 50s or 60s or whatever. But I think like the biggest issue I have with this is it kind of failed to address like the business of 92nd and Greenfield. Like that corner is still dead now, and I feel like your most dominant roof feature is on the west side. And I was wondering if that sky deck or whatever you guys are calling skyline could flip to that corner of Greenfield and 92nd. I think it's going to provide better views towards eventually downtown Milwaukee, as well as like activating that corner, because it's like it almost feels like when you do that, the building is like flipped from where it should be and putting more prominence on 93rd of where across the street from where those single family residences are. I think the predominance of the business wants to be at that corner of 93rd Greenfield. And then I get modern materials and everything, but there's such a dominant presence of this heavy masonry building that's there now. And like to say we're just going to use stone textured panels on the bottom of this building seems kind of like a cop out here. I think like there's an opportunity here to do something nice along Greenfield Avenue with actual masonry. I mean, you guys are literally removing and throwing away a bunch of quality materials to replace it with modern materials that aren't, and aren't going to have a lifespan that, the quality materials do. So just one, hope that stuff is taken into consideration here.
Wow, that's really fun. Thank you. Those are all great comments. I'll start with just with respect to the materials being demolished. One of the benefits of who we partnered with, who F-Street has partnered with to do the demolition, everything's going to be recycled.
I read that in the previous demolition report. Last year.
But certainly that's still a valid concern. With respect to responding to 92nd Street and potentially missing opportunity, we did feel like the comments received were valid. And I don't know, Emily, if you have the additional rendering that shows that
I
elevation.
do not.
It was the packet, that has the street light and everything, yeah.
Let me find it.
I saw it in the packet.
Part of why, what we've done and what Steve's gonna pull up here is we did completely redesign our first floor plan to relocate a lobby to that corner. We've incorporated a commemorative monument to St. Aloysius and some landscaping and signage to increase the visibility and presence from our initial submission. And then additionally, with respect to sort of the roof line and the identity of that roof piece not being allocated appropriately, it is also on that side as well.
Sorry, we're running into a,
I can give you a
sure.
Yeah, I just feel like it feels like backwards. Like the corner should have an activity.
And yeah, if you hadn't seen the plan, it does show. So it's the sense of people activating that space. There's a small patio terrace. There'll be circulation and traffic and activity coming from the corner into the building there.
Yeah, I just think so much like the top piece of top floor, if flipping that, like even in this view, you can see it. It's like, I feel like all the activity wants to be in that corner.
Okay, we're running into a,
Yeah.
I feel it in the staff, like it looks just so flat on that 92nd and Greenfield. I feel like there's so much activity on that. Seems to be backwards personally, but that's fair.
yeah, I'll take the flash if you've got it.
Very good as well. So we located that kind of sky lounge to the west too, as more of an evening space, so you could enjoy a cocktail up there facing west as well. So that was the driving factor.
Yeah, thank you.
So we actually we did start it off on that side and actually moved it and separate the building nicely.
Yeah.
And kind of creates that better look and feel. And also, right, that was like a large reason of it is the lounge to be on that corner wouldn't be as used.
I just really like it. I guess, yeah, we'll let it come now.
Jessica?
I have a few things. I did hear some of the Alderwoman's concerns with this, as well as my colleagues. And I'm wondering if there is something that we could do with the light to give it a lot more character. Because what I see is Greenfield Avenue is such a integrated route into West Dallas. So many people pass through there for state there, among other things. And I think this is important to make sure that this project is done right and to help fit the characteristics of the neighborhood and our city as well too. And then my other question was going to be is what are we looking at for charging for rents of these units?
Well, certainly we can hear your feedback regarding color with respect to the unit costs. I would defer to Nick, but with respect to rental rates.
Say that one more time.
This question also rates would be for the units.
They're going to vary anywhere from the 1,300 range to the $2,500 range, depending on the units.
Nick, if you wanted to share that USB, I can try that. For whatever reason, our files aren't opening. Yeah, sure.
Issues
Yeah.
rampant outside of plan commission.
He's pulling that up. Katie was going to, I guess, also the range of unit types, the garden style is back flat on the south, those have some private entrances, attached garages, which offer a different variety than the mid-rise building that have, corridors that connect like it's an apartment building. So we feel the balance of the two is a pretty good mix for the 147 mix. It offers more range. We have, junior one bedrooms that have no attached parking for the extremely, cost conscious all the way up to larger with multiple, parking.
That's okay.
If you've seen the rendering, the additional slides that we have speak to the effort to relate back to St. Aloysius, kind of show all sides of the building. But certainly it's all right.
This one, I think this has got the other side. None of these things are opening.
And suspense.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good suspense here. Oh. I apologize, but
Nice one.
end of this has this was the plan commission packet, which included all of the entire plan set. We just have any luck, we'll be able to navigate down to the come on. Yeah, okay. Yep, we're cooked.
I apologize for not doing that. I was just trying to get an example of each type of building, but it was an important one.
What are you looking for, Steve?
Well, a little performance out of my computer, but then aside from that, we're just waiting for this to update and refresh, and then we'll go to the two renderings. There's a northeast view and a northwest view. The northwest view I think you saw, but the northeast rendering as shot from 92nd and Greenfield will show, you know, the ground floor windows and some updates that have been achieved, you know, on that corner as well, just to sort of help frame some of the points that the Rinka team and F-Stream team are making, as well as to help convey that to the comments this evening. So this is the other, yeah, feel free, Evan. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Sorry, everyone. I'll take responsibility.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
So obviously the conversation has been about not necessarily the base, you're referring to the top.
Yeah.
Right? But you know, the comments we received were about amplifying that streetscape and the presence, and I think some of the members of the municipality felt like it was a little bit obscured, and a lot of that is predicated on getting people into the building, being a good neighbor to Gonzaga, so that floor line is set based on some of those things. I think with respect to the coloration choices of the building, really we thought that the white would be an enhancement. It would be this sort of brightness and vibrance that it could bring to the streetscape of Greenfield Avenue. And, you know, we're aware of some of the other developments and felt, you know, we certainly like this concept as a means of being different from that, having its own identity, and certainly trying to make those nods that are subjective. But that's the reasoning for some of those things. And then with respect to the application of the base, that's what you're seeing here.
Where does the east side of that sit in relationship now to where current building is? Is that pretty much in line, or the back further, or the forward?
It's pretty close to in line. Right now, we're basically within the sidewalk that's existing. where that patio is. But really trying to bring people into the site at this point so that it's not a dead corner. I know previously we were allocating units here and understood that feedback as a potential enhancement. It was really just how we were distributing those spaces. So really all four corners of the project have activation.
Yeah, I feel like I put my comment out with feedback.
Something I'll point out with the white, by the way, and other projects we've done, even with Rinka, is when it's shown on a screen like this, it looks really whitewashed with the backlighting. When it actually gets developed in version, as Evan mentioned, like there are seams.
There's
Like,
panel joints that
yeah,
get-
it really like blends in nicely with like the mixture of colors. And that really takes away from it. Like the screen, when you look in the top, like the roof's not gonna be painted all white, like that gives it like really bright white. But here with the distribution of colors here, it really plays in really nicely with the first floor kind of like insetting, and that's gonna be a co-working space now on that first floor to really activate that like 92nd and Greenfield corner for the residents to use and the signage. So it really creates that pop on that 92nd and Greenfield site versus, again, why there's multiple reasons we moved the rooftop deck onto the corner of 93rd. It really just, it plays better for residents. It'll really make better use for them. So that was a lot of the reasoning why, you know, this has been a changing iterations over the last few months.
Older person, are you satisfied with what you're hearing?
For the most part, I agree that it looks flip-flopped. I think the actual present should be that 92nd Greenfield corner. I get the sunsets and the sunrises, but we have to be mindful that that is a primarily a residential area on 93rd. And if there are activities at night and things like that going on, that noise level might be a little bit louder for them. I'm just confused as seeing where do you enter. I know you don't have to answer, but if I were just driving by, it would be like all the activity would be somewhere else, the backside, which is, or down. So I do agree that that corner should, it should have more focus on the corner, that's where the property basically.
Certainly your feedback, I think, and talking with our development about allocation of some of those amenity spaces, certainly noise is not something we would disregard.
Right.
Knowing that part of our whole design was cultivated by responding to the 93rd Street residents. So we'll certainly consider that feedback with respect to the entry condition, that why you're seeing the signage and there is a door that obviously this rendering, it's you're standing in the middle of the street, but that is the entry. I think having that activation there will certainly be more visible than maybe just this one vantage point is allowing you to see. But yeah, I guess beyond that, we're certainly able to study whether or not there's ability to relocate some of those amenity areas.
I can add a small detail, also just the amount of amenity space for a building of 105 units. A lot of attention was paid to how to control and utilize the amenities between the two building types. So a lot of it is kind of far from the what we would typically put on corners.
Yeah.
So the function of the building really influenced that. And then how Evan was alluding to, like each corner has a special thing. And the back of the building is the main entrance. 99% of the, you know, if you're gonna come look at a space or visit a friend, are gonna know where the parking is. So this is a way that, you know, there's only so many places.
Right.
So we have a lot of the pieces located next to the elevators that are in the angle of that, which you if you're going to tour a unit, you can go directly up the unit and see this great space off the end. A lot of the time when you have top floor amenities on a corner bar, it's just a lot of access to units that are directly you have to get a lot more visitors. I can stop. I know. I noted it absolutely. You're out.
The last thing would be that with respect to maybe those downtown views or that view down at the second Greenfield, we thought that would be a great sell for that unit.
Yeah.
And the resident who got that unit. So all of those factors are why we're here.
We can't design by committee here. However, would you agree that the comments that have been made we will take into consideration and have conversation with the planning department?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments.
Thank you. Emily and Steve, do we have enough to vote on? Is there clarity?
Yeah, I mean, we have, we've taken down the notes on the comments with respect to the color, and some of the design references around the building with the respect to the roof lines and visitor parking comments, the traffic memorandum, which is already within the recommendation. Consideration of the terrace areas on the northwest, or maybe possibly being considered on the northeast, and then availability of materials, or I'm sorry, the quality of materials at the base to sort of take a look at those and perhaps look at some alternates. So that's what I have. If there's anything else that I've missed, feel free. Happy to.
Is there anything that you would add to that list that Steve just reiterated? You got something, Jessica?
I would just like to see more character on the Greenfield Avenue side. That's just my opinion of it. Since that's the side that most people are gonna be passing by.
All right. Anything else from the commission? Anybody in the audience with comments? Then we'll take a vote on number 2.
Two and
Two and
three are
three.
taken together. Yeah.
So what will that motion be?
Well, yeah. That's not me,
Yeah.
as you. Yeah.
Question, can we move the table it to get some of these concerns addressed and bring it back next month?
I don't know that, well, you would ask that this whole be delayed a month?
Yeah, just to kind of address some of the concerns that were brought up.
I'd second that. I'm sorry, can we table it since
What
we
it-
know?
What impact will that have, would that have on you folks from F Street?
Timing perspective to get the project done this year, for sure,
It would what?
because we're already tight to get in November. To delay it 30 days into December would likely push the project into 2026. Very likely.
Given that, please go ahead.
Do we need it? I don't think we should have to table it, simply because we're considering trueability, right? So there should be no reason that we necessarily table it. Take a look at the concerns. Absolutely. Minor changes can happen. Happens all the time, right? But I don't think we should have to table it.
You would ask that we go ahead tonight. It strikes me that that would make sense because the parties can continue to talk and share information, and there is a conduit back to the planning department, and we should take full advantage of that. I think that we would be doing a disservice to this project if we pushed it back a month.
I think with that in mind, I do like his suggestion. I will withdraw my motion to table.
Thank you. And did we have a second?
I'm just gonna keep it.
Okay,
I'll second.
then that's withdrawn, so we're back to getting this thing approved, which is number 2 and number 3. What's the motion?
Jessica withdrew her motion. Brandon wants to keep his motion to hold. And then Kathleen, was your motion?
No, they withdrew that.
Okay.
We're back to round 0. Try to approve 2 and
Right.
3.
I think like one point we can make too, that it still has to go before council to get approved before council. So, since she moved to approve, I will second that.
Actually, what's going before council is a certified survey map. The actual the use itself, the number of units and what's before plan commission is permitted by right under the zoning district, the RC district. So it's purely plan commission's design comments that we've noted here is what our charge is, that you're charging us to work with, F Street and Rinka and solving some of those issues. And we'd be happy to do that. We're very committed to working with their team, and if we can't agree, we would bring it back to you, but,
So the motion is to proceed with the information that's been presented tonight. Correct?
Correct.
And you've got a whole list of things, you've articulated them,
Just-
they're in this motion.
yeah, and just to be clear, we've got, was it, Jessica? And the second with Kathleen.
Kathleen moved. I second.
I see, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Record one nay and the rest approve. That's motion is approved. So number 2 and 3 are approved and we will move on. F Street, keep going.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next. Next is 4A, conditional use permits and Butcher's Word, a proposed food production use at 1320 South 108th Street.
Thank you.
Jack, you got that one?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Phil Byers is putting as many years of experience in the restaurant and meat processing industries and putting it into a new butcher store in West Allis called the Butcher's Word. This will have displays of fresh meat cases, coolers, freezers. Additionally, the space also seeks to become a community gathering space with cooking classes, tasting events, and presentations from regional farmers. The current zoning of the site is C3, which is commercial. Food production requires a conditional use permit to go forth before Common Council and Plan Commission. The business expects to hire 8 to 10 employees, and then the proposed hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's located in a multi-tenant building along 108th Street, just south of Sammy's, and directly south of the former Northern Brewing building. Looking at the site plan, there are no major site changes. This is just focusing largely on the interior. There is an existing landscaping feature along the north side of the building. However, that's distressed, and then there's some issues with survivability and condition for that spot. So staff's recommending removal of that and then replacement with either planter boxes, trellis, or some other natural feature. Highlighted here in the blue is an area that could be a future small patio or seating option. We'd like to explore that further with the applicant. Additionally, on the site, you'll see that the proposed tenant space is in a difficult area for trash refuse. Looking at previous property files and then imagery, it appears trash has been largely collected right here. We want to work further with the applicant and himself working further with the property owner to discuss a refuse area location for 4-sided screening. And that's one of the recommendations we include later in the recommendations portion. Parking, it's existing. It's going to be shared with the other tenant spaces. There's a proposed tenant space right here. And then additionally, there was a previously reviewed liquor store just south of this project that will not be in this parking lot, but is further south. And then additionally, we'd like to collect further details on the replacement and use of the existing pole sign. Right now, it is a non-conforming pole sign, and there are there's a couple tenants in here. However, the sign only provides ability for 2 tenants to have signage on here. We'd like to work further with the tenant next door to the butcher shop and the Bill Byers himself to discuss further on what type of signage needs would be best for this property, as there's variations in the existing signage right now. I'm looking at the architecture of the site. There are no major architectural changes. Staff is just largely recommending improvements along that alley facing, residential facing facade. Over time, the facade is chipped and faded. This is just a natural result of weathering and other issues. We just want this to be recommended to restoration just to avoid any future exterior maintenance issues. And then additionally, on the Highway 100 facing side, we'd like to work with the applicant further to ensure that the windows remain transparent along the Highway 100 facade. Looking at the floor plan, the main interest is along the northwestern wall off the existing parking lot shown with this arrow. From there, users and patrons will enter through a vestibule that'll lead into a retail area with products on display, a butcher service counter, and then the event and market space area along with a bathroom. The yellow shown on here is the work area with the kitchen, meat cutting room, walk-in freezers and coolers, office and receiving area. With that being said, we do have a recommendation for Plan Commission approval of the conditional use permit and then approval of the site landscaping architectural design review subject to common council approval of the conditional use. Then the revised site landscaping plan to show front entry site improvements, refuse location and screening plan, confirmation of exterior maintenance improvements, location of an outdoor bicycle rack, building permits being applied for, and then a scope of work indicated for signage and lighting just to ensure the future of that existing non-conforming sign. Thank you. We also have the applicants on in the audience tonight. So if you do have any questions, please ask myself or the applicants. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Regarding the question of signage and lighting, who controls the signage?
That would be the owner of the property.
And that is not the butcher.
Yeah, that is not the butcher, but the butcher would likely be having signage on that property. So I don't know if I dare to pull it up and slow down anything, but
Go for it.
there's a very tall pole sign probably about 40 feet with the former Northern Brewery signage on it. And then right below that, there's a very small additional sign area for a previous user. So there's more than, I believe there's 3 or 4 tenant spaces in this existing building. However, because of our sign code, they would not be able to add any additional signage. They would just be able to replace that sign face on there. So there's the issue of that for the future users, depending on who has a sign there. But I mean, that's something that likely will be addressed with the applicant and then the other tenants in the building.
Thank you. Questions? Discussion? Yes.
So for the sign thing, it doesn't have to change because there's no outside physical work being done in the building?
That's correct.
Correct?
That's correct. It's just a
So that's part of the
recommendation.
code, correct?
Yeah, staff just noticed that this would be, we prefer to have signs in conformance with the zoning code, with the sign code. However, we don't have the ability to require sign changes. But if there is any work done to the structure of the sign itself, other than a simple refacing, they would have to conform with the sign code. And that's just something we noticed on the site plan just to ensure the tenants have all kind of future needs.
But Jack, that is not the butcher's word issue.
It is in a way, it's not plan commission's issue more so. It's just the recommendation staff made to discuss further with the applicant.
I agree. I was tenant next door, right? I've signed a lease on the recess section. And we negotiated that I would have that top sign. However, it is in need of a lot of work. It's not functioning and I don't want to spend the money on that huge Northern Brewery replacing that. So at this point, I'm okay with no sign on Highway 100 and I will have a lit up sign on my awning.
So the Northern Brewery sign gonna stay there, even though it's.
Well, that's the thing, that needs to come down. The business has been gone for years. And that's the owner. Correct, yeah.
It's something that we want to get the attention of this is not just one business's issue, it's a collective, right? The landlord and tenants are all have an interest in signage on the property. So the pole sign, what is the plan is kind of what we're asking, I guess, the landlord and tenants. It's too expensive to replace or fix. Ideally, the landlord would just remove it, or if there's some interest in using it or other tenants in the site, I guess show us your proposal and let's, we'd react to that and to see if it,
I'm Bill, I'm the butcher. I just, I can understand your concerns because it is an old sign. I think the one thing that I would like to mention is that it offers the best form of visibility to have something there, especially at that height. But, you know, just being able to have some kind of presence so you can see it, because that would be the best way to advertise. We have plans to put something on the front of the building, just in painting and light it up, but that's not going to be as visible as if there was that sign there. So, but this all falls into John's lap, essentially.
Steve, has the city, had conversations with the, owner of the property?
no, not yet. We've, our staff reports out there. I mean, we've been working with, Bill the Butcher and, the fire, but, it's something we just haven't had the opportunity yet to speak with the owner of the property. And then I think, this is an issue that, Bill would like to use the sign. That's wonderful. They can reface it, they can clean it up and, but, if there's more significant alterations, that's usually what triggers our sign code compliance. And that would mean something shorter and, the square footage coming in line with what's allowed within the sign code.
So it's not, so. Bill, are you gonna use the sign?
Well, it
Because if
sounds
you
like,
don't use the sign and you don't use the sign, that means no one's using the sign. Now it's there.
Yeah.
Now it looks atrocious.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there are situations within the code where if the sign has been abandoned and, just sitting there, you got tenants or you don't have tenants and if it's not being used, there could be an order to remove the sign completely. That's like, it does become more of a, landlord issue. I mean, there's certainly interested tenants that would love to use that sign, but if the landlord's not willing to, and if the tenants aren't willing to make that investment, well then, we've got to come up with plan B, which could mean removal of the sign, ultimately, because right now, as it sits, it is, I would argue it's somewhat of a blighting influence on the property. Yeah.
The economic development team will work with both of them.
Yeah, and then we've got the economic development team, so.
I just don't want you. Right now. Getting that area.
No,
That's a huge sign that nobody else has.
your concerns are valid. I mean, everyone's concerns here are valid, so it's like, we just want to have that conversation, I guess, with all parties involved, just so we can have the discussion, better understanding of what's next, plan for it.
I was gonna agree with the sign too, issue, like, why do we have a sign there that's not advertising any of this is there? Makes no sense to do, that's as busy as that area is.
I was told that there was gonna be multiple, like, slots underneath the giant marquee, and the email that I was given even showed that there was like previous smaller signs, so it sounds like there's more space for more than one tenant, but like, I didn't want the top one, I just wanted, but you don't want to have a pole sign that's 40 feet in the air with no. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
somebody that's not even there.
But it would be great if we could find out. I mean, this is something that John has to be involved with.
Yeah.
I would like to have visibility on Highway 100, I think.
And I think where you're at, no matter where you put the sign, you could have some visibility on how you're the location,
Yeah.
right? Just the unruly sign. That's, so far from there. That's why I was just curious about, if no one takes it, what do you do with it?
Right. Yep.
Steve, will you bring back, to this committee at your earliest convenience, the sign saga update?
Yes, we'll do one. That's a good point.
And staff will be able to approve that administratively without plan commission approval for the signage permits itself.
All right. So we have this item before us,
I'll second.
with a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one, which is number 5. Site landscaping and architectural design review. Proposed ramp at Beloit Road Baptist Church, an existing religious institution. 8337 West Beloit Road. Who's got this one? Sure. Jack. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. This is for the Beloit Road Baptist Church on the city's far south side. Thank you. Current zoning for this property is RA2. Religious institutions are considered conditional use in this zoning district. However, that's an existing use. No changes to the church itself, just the addition of the ADA ramp on the north side. Here's an image showing that ramp proposal. It begins near the bottom of the existing staircase and then continues west, or continues east, then back west to meet the top of the stairs. Railing with handrail is provided. The base matches the existing building in terms of masonry. And then one thing that we did notify the applicant is the removal of signage on site. They will have to provide new signage to planning staff should they propose any additional signage. With that being said, we have a recommendation for approval with the site plan being updated to show replacement of landscaping area, building permits being submitted, and then signage permits being submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. We have a motion second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Passes. Thank you. Number something there, number 7.
6.
Number 6 is somewhere on my paper. Thank you. Site landscaping and architectural design review for Tri-City Bank, existing general service.
So if we don't choose to put a sign up, then we don't have to worry about it.
1009
Yeah, you don't have to worry about anything.
Who has this one?
Yep, I'm this
Mr.
one.
Jack.
All right, thank you. This is for the existing Tri-City Bank on the city's west side off of Greenfield Avenue. The zoning for the property is C3. General services are permitted use in the zoning district. They are just here for the removal and replacement of the parking lot. No changes to the operation of the business. The overall plan is for about 57,000 square feet of that parking lot to be updated. 31,805 square feet is going to be removed and replaced, shown in green on this image to the right. And then the remaining 25,600 square feet is to be mill and overlaid. Per code, staff took a look at the existing parking, and there is an excess of parking right now. There's 112 parking stalls. Our parking maximums allow up to 101 parking stalls. So staff is recommending the removal of 11 parking stalls somewhere on site, likely on the rear where parking is may not be as utilized, or along the sides. Multiple access points are shown on the site, pointed with these arrows. From Greenfield Avenue on the northeast, and then from Greenfield Avenue on the northwest, or northeast again, northwest here, northeast. And then there's a shared access drive connecting to Fazoli's with 2 different access points, one here on that northern side, and then one here on that southern side. The site plan recommendations that staff has in your staff reports are for closure of that northeast access point along West Greenfield Avenue shown here. Just because the proximity to the shared access point that is shared with Fazoli's, our engineering department and city engineer recommended this closure and is working more closely with Wisconsin Department of Transportation to ensure the safest approach is being taken here. Access is proposed off of the shared access drive to that ATM. Restoration of the curb is proposed by staff, and then landscaping is added in place of the concrete and asphalt. Additionally, we require those 11 parking stalls to be removed to meet the code requirements. A bicycle rack added, and then working further with the applicant on an internal pedestrian pathway similar to other developments on this Greenfield Avenue corridor off of the Highway 100 corridor. We've have present with that with working with Checkers and Festival Food for previous nearby users. Shown here is a different alternative that staff came up with to work with the applicant further on. To still provide access to that ATM, but this will allow for the right in or right out of this onto Greenfield Avenue. And since the staff report, we've worked further with the city engineer to provide a recommendation for the modification of the northeast access. So that's reflected on here today. We are recommending approval of the site landscaping architectural design review, subject to the removal of parking stalls, additional landscaping areas being created, and then modification of the northeast access driveway to meet the city engineer's recommendations rather than just one option as we work further with the DOT on the situation. And then an outdoor bicycle rack being added, and along with internal pedestrian accommodations, subject to also street excavation and driveway permit approaches being applied for. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions for Jack? For motion?
No.
We have a motion for a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, passes. Thank you. Now we'll move on to number 7. Sign plan appeal for all goods of proposed neighborhood retail use at 8436 West Greenfield Avenue. Who's got that? Jack?
I do, yep.
Jack's got it.
Thank you. All Goods is now moving to further down Greenfield Avenue at 85th and Greenfield. This is their new location. They're a permitted neighborhood retail use. They're proposing a painted sign that requires plan commission approval. The sign itself is 3 foot by 8 foot, 24 square feet. Maximum signage per code is 72 square feet. This meets the qualifications for signage area and then creative sign qualities. No other signage is proposed, and a previous billboard has been removed on this site that was previously above the All Goods proposed logo. That has been removed as of July 2025. This is just showing that former billboard on the site. With that being said, we have a recommendation for approval for the sign plan appeal for All Goods, subject to the satisfaction of the creative sign subsection. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Questions for Jack?
I move to approve.
We have a motion with a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Jack. John. So now we'll move on to sign plan appeal for Fairview Partners LLC at 1221 West Fairview Avenue.
Thank you, Wayne.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got a new.
Represent the, I'm back.
Good to
Yeah.
have you back, Steve.
Is there Robert Blau in the audience? Hi, Robert. Hey, nice to see you in person. Yeah. Good.
So, I think we have Bobby online. Bobby, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Oh, very good, very good.
Steve, who is this?
Bobby is with the sign company, representing.
For Metco, he's the US Western sales for Metco sign.
Perfect. So,
Thank you.
yep. So, so this evening, Blau Plumbing, which has been a longstanding business within West Dallas on 122nd roughly, and Fairview is a very far northwest portion of the city, abutting I-94, as you can see from the aerial view. The lower image on the right, we've got a bigger picture in a future slide, but there's 2 buildings that Blau owns. The 12221 on the right, it's about a 10,000 square foot building, and then 12239, which is about a 2,000 square foot building on the left. And you can see them below roughly the larger building in the middle of the picture, and then off to the right-hand side behind one of the Blau Plumbing trucks is the other building. The proposal this evening is to install a freestanding sign on the Blau property within the parking lot of 12221. Fairview would be on the western edge, represented by that red cross on the image there. And this property again is located on the north side of I-94. These are some of the images, the rendered images of what they'd like to do. They are a gateway property. They are along I-94. So it's one of the first things you see coming into the city, one of the last things you see as you're going westbound out into Waukesha County. But their proposal is for a freestanding sign. It had full digital faces. It is a V-shaped sign. So if you were looking at it from above, an aerial view, it would have sort of a V shape mounted upon a pole. The overall size is 14 feet tall by 48 feet long. And then each face being 672 square feet apiece for a total of a little over 1,300 square feet. The height above the parking lot grade would be 60 feet from the parking lot grade of the base of the sign up to the top of the sign. And then it would be on and or over the Blau parking lot. So it would not, I don't think it's intended to encroach within I-94 right of way. It would be completely over or on top of the Blau property. One of the things you'll notice in maybe this next slide here is, why is it so proposed to be so tall? And, Robert or, Bobby, the sign cutter would probably, we can show, I guess, just from the picture here, you can see that there is a fairly significant grade elevation difference between the parking lot at Blau up to the street or interstate grade of I-94, roughly about 20 feet, give or take. And so their intent, like other signs of Popolaki, you can see those have been installed at an elevated height above grade. So they are at more or less at or above eye level from the I-94 area. And just another image of the proposed location. So the reason for the appeal is that our signage ordinance, you can kind of see the comparison between what our signage ordinance requires or allows on the left-hand side and what the Blau proposal is proposing on the right-hand side. So let's just go bullet point by bullet point. The sign ordinance allows one freestanding sign per property. That's what Blau is proposing. So check the box there. That's okay. The issue where we get into the issue is that our sign ordinance for a property of the size, the size of the building, or the building or buildings in this case, only yield a total max sign area of 75 square feet in sign area. And what's being proposed is, 1,200 some square feet larger than what our sign ordinance allows. So that's the part of the reason. 10 feet high is the max height. 60 feet high is proposed. We'll get into a little bit of past plan commission appeals and previously back in 2018 specifically. But then the other part is that changeable displays, changeable copy or changeable displays, electronic digital displays are allowed, but at a cap of 35% of the actual total sign face area. In the case of Blau, it's well over 35%, probably arguably much closer to 100% of the sign will be digital. And we've all seen them along interstates. The full digital displays. They are very high tech. Number of different images. They cycle through different images for anyone that wants to advertise upon them can certainly do so. And then Mr. Blau has actually offered sort of an in-kind donation of sorts to the city. If approved, he would allow for city messaging, gateway signage type of thing as you come and go from the city. So that being said, I do want to sort of just look back at a precedent from 2018. Now we had a similar situation where the ironworkers wanted to install a 35-foot tall sign on their property. This is directly south of Blau Plumbing on the south side of I-94. And this sign, Plan Commission reviewed it, and the initial proposal was rejected. They came back with some different attributes, and ultimately Planning Commission did approve a freestanding sign for the ironworkers in this case. If the variance was granted to exceed the maximum height of 10 feet, and just given that's sort of a unique hardship in this area with the interstate being, roughly 20 feet above the surface of all these businesses on either north and south sides in this particular area, this stretch. It does make sense, so that was a unique circumstance that Plan Commission felt was warranted some allowance for a height variance. And then while they were initially proposing a 35-foot high sign, Plan Commission settled on, with ironworkers on 30-foot max height. However, all the other elements of the sign ordinance in terms of the area of the sign, the percentage of digital display, and then also some design elements like design features, the iron structure work, some of the the brick base, were all incorporated into the plan. So really, the only thing that was being varied was the height. All other attributes of the sign ordinance were maintained, as part of that proposal. Now, this is just just a closer view that Ironworkers signed what ultimately was approved: the 30 feet height, the brick base, the structural or I guess you could call it decorative or maybe themed sort of appropriate ironwork for the ironworkers, and some of the design characteristics of that sign. Again, just sort of working towards substantial compliance with the sign ordinance while still allowing, an exception for the height given the grade difference. On the right are just some of the conditions of approval that Planning Commission imposed at that time. Just again, sort of the 5-foot lowering of the sign from 35 to 30 feet. And then a note on the plan that the digital display hold for a period of 3 seconds before it cycles to the next message. And then the basis of the approval was further explained by, the proposed sign has been designed by the applicant to meet all but the height requirements of the sign ordinance, the quality, the architectural design elements at a scale that is appropriate, the proposed, being incorporated to the proposed design of the new sign, the one sign per property, and then, and that it meets the master sign plan, being along I-94. So our recommendation, and we'll give, Robert's here to explain anything and clarify anything that I've missed, but, our recommendation this evening is for rejection or denial of the sign plan appeal. For the 4 reasons we have here, primarily, the proposed sign significantly exceeds the height, the area, the digital display allowances of our sign code. Secondly, the digital sign face is at 100% over and above the 35% limit. The approval process, and probably one of the precedent issue, one of the concerns that planning staff has is that if allowed, if an appeal were allowed at 1,200 square feet or in such significance over and above what our sign ordinance allows, we're going to have to be prepared to allow that same offering to other businesses along the corridor. So that's a concern. And at what point, how many of those appeals do you want to go through before we just, should the ordinance be changed at some point? If that's the wish of the Planning Commission or the council, I would say that then the ordinance should probably be reconsidered and looked at in further detail. And then lastly, just the existing sign ordinances, adhering to it is reasonable. We do allow for an expression of, free speech and advertising to promote a healthy and properly designed business environment, provide, I guess for both commercial and non-commercial speech. And we don't regulate sign content. So whether we advertise a on-premise sign for Blau Plumbing or for multiple tenants or for businesses that aren't even located on Fairview somewhere else in the world, that's fine. We don't regulate content, but it's the design aspects in the area and the height that we want to maintain for this corridor. We understand that the speeds along I-94 and it is a different setting from a commercial city street, but at the same token, there is a way, I guess within our ordinance has been proven, I think, with the Ironworkers sign that, of maintaining the design characteristics and the, harmony, I guess, with our sign ordinance. And for those reasons, we're recommending denial.
Thank you, Steve. Before we hear from the applicant, any questions? Yes, sir.
2 things. I know we had somebody a couple of years ago looking for a sign just as big. I think they were off of Oklahoma. We denied that too.
Was it
I can't remember.
on Oklahoma? Okay.
I do remember a big sign because he wanted to put it above the freeway. He said, no, that. Why so big? That's what I'm asking. Is it for advertising? It's becoming a billboard? Or is it advertising just for your company?
Certainly. First of all, Mr. Chairman, committee members, Thank you for taking the time to listen to my proposal. My plan with the property is to change its use from single family or single use industrial to multi-tenant business. Blau Plumbing has evolved over the years with technology and processes to have less requirements for office space in that building. And what I would like to do is to put the business tenants in my location. I've talked to Steve and I believe Shelley is on the team at the city. And we've talked about what it would take internally to change my single use business to multi-tenant business. I've got a common corridor in my building. Shelley's looked at the plan. And in some cases, it's a simple lock change to create, exclusive space for business tenants. And I'd like to be able to advertise not only Blau Plumbing on the side, but other business tenants in the building. So that's one of the reasons why the big sign. The other thing is Steve mentioned the speed of vehicles going by. In order to get somebody an image that they can read in 2 or 3 seconds, you really need size, 48 by 14, which is it's a common size along freeways around the country. And that specifically is why I want the larger sign to give my business tenants exposure to that location and provide a meaningful message that passersby can read versus the ironworkers smaller sign. And that's got to do with the height as well. If you go on if you're westbound on 94, just to the east of the Pavlaki building is a very high terrain freeway that dips down just before the Pavlaki pavement. So as you're approaching from the east, the height needs to be higher than Pavlaki sign to really have readability. So that's why the proposal is 60-foot top of height of the building at the Blau Plumbing grade, which puts us about 40 feet above the freeway grade. So that is the plan. And then the issue of the in-kind advertising, I think this is a very unique location, being at 122nd Street, right at the city limit. I'd like to offer that to the committee to provide permanent in-kind advertising, to advertise like we've shown here. Welcome, thanks for visiting, Christmas, farmers market, whatever the city would deem appropriate. And I think that it's a great opportunity to benefit a lot of interested parties, myself, my tenants, good businesses in West Dallas, for everybody, and also the city of West Dallas. And it would be a digital sign versus a static sign, so it's changeable.
Which we appreciate, with the in-kind advertising. It's big. It's too big. It's way too big, and it doesn't. It's not gonna bode well when people are driving through this huge sign. And then everybody else kind of like in compliance around. So you can still do a digital sign, I think, right? And still even, I don't know, is the 60 feet high, is that one of the issues too?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely taller than, it would be 30 feet taller than the ironworker sign. Now that ironworker sign is on the south side of the I-94, but I guess.
Well, because that's the Pavlaki sign that's in the back.
Yeah, that's kind of further back. This might be a better way to estimate, but it's, and Robert, I don't know offhand, but yeah.
I guess I would add, or my comment would be, the other billboards around the property, there's 5 billboards on the south side of 94. See them in that left panel there. You've got weatherproofing over there, or weather tight. There's also AmeriGas has a sign there, one of those signs. Those are all 14 by 48. Those are all the same size.
But those are billboards. Those are advertised set. You pay this company, advertising company, to advertise there. This is more of a personal sign or personal for the business, am I correct?
Well, it's not only for my business, but it would be for, tenants
Sure,
in the building.
sure, which I understand. But now we're looking at an advertising billboard sign compared to a business sign.
Well, the ones on the left side, I believe the far one is owned and operated by Clear Channel. So they're
It's a
advertising,
billboard sign, right?
or they're advertising to someone who's paying to put their ad on their property.
Right.
The next side over for air gas, for example, that's a private sign. For air gas only, it's an on-premise sign. Mine would be an on-premise sign, just like theirs, but mine would be digital with more tenants. The weatherproof or weather tech sign is on-premise for that landowner, advertising his needs. And that's what I would do as well for my tenants and myself on my sign, but the signs are the same size. I mean, this image might be a little bit.
Is that still West Dallas on that side?
On the south side of, yeah, that is West Dallas, yeah.
Okay, how big are those signs?
Yeah, are you talking about these here? Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm proposing is the same size sign as my neighbor's, same use on premise advertising. But mine would be different, that would be digital. And frankly, I think the digital signs are crisper, sharper, easier to read. And the sign I'm proposing, and Bobby can comment, this is a 16 millimeter digital display versus a 19 millimeter digital display. Bobby, if you want to sort of give us further than what that means.
Sure.
I mean, I
So-
understand digital display and all that and the crispness of it and all that stuff. So what's the proposal? Can you work with them to shrink it down? Because if it is a digital sign, honestly, it doesn't have to be as big. Because it is going out, to whoever's driving. You're gonna see it, it's gonna draw attention to it. Whereas the other ones, of course, those won't. Right, because they're not digital, so.
Well, the lighted sign said, I believe, just like the other side, it's
Right,
basically the background.
it's
of the
background
freeway.
lighting, but now yours is moving.
So Brian,
It's just a moving sign, but it's
Yeah.
a changeable sign.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Right.
Brian, our intent here with our recommendation is to remain pretty pure to the ordinance. I mean, that's our recommendation, yeah. So, I understand, there has been some precedent in the past by Plan Commission, and I think for good reason, to allow that height allowance, just given the grade difference with I-94 and the rest of the properties, the businesses on either side of the expressway. But to allow such a large sign, or even to talk about maybe scaling down half or a little bit, it's in our opinion, I think it's best that it's our recommendation to the Planning Commission that we remain true to the ordinance as best possible. And certainly ordinances can change over the time with different, with the council. But at this point, any future ordinance changes or sign ordinance changes that we foresee in terms of the planning office wouldn't be to allow a sign of this size and scale. Understandably, it is along I-94, and there are other, 5 or 6 other, freestanding, signs off premise and, on premise types of signs in the area. But those were all approved well before our current signage ordinance, and they're considered legacy or grandfathered, grandmothered types of signs. So, yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
That was kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
Bobby, we interrupted. I don't know if you wanted to add something.
No, I was just gonna talk about the resolution, but it doesn't sound like that will add anything to the argument here at the moment.
Sure. I do have a question about the minimum sign distance along the interstate corridors.
Mhm.
Or is there a city minimum distance apart?
No, I think it's really, I've looked at the ones over here on the left and on the south side of I-94, and these happen to be right around between 120 or 150 feet apart over here. And it's just these 3 basically, or maybe the other one over here. I think it's one off the screen that we're not getting, but But those, and I'm not sure if that was by design under some prior signage ordinance, or if it just happened to be how it worked out, just maybe with sight lines to them or something, but.
Another question I have
Yeah.
is this area of West Dallas from the county line or the city limits to the zoo is pretty well filled with signage. I don't think there's any room for addition, maybe just modification. Well, you mentioned the issue if we let it, this happen for Blau Plumbing, we have to let changes be made for others. Do you know how many other land adjacent properties are located around the 894 area from the zoo interchange down to Beloit Road where the city limits are?
Sure.
That would be impacted by any change in the ordinance? How many existing 14 by 48 sites are along there now?
Yeah.
And how many available properties might
Yeah.
this become an issue for?
Yeah, we could certainly quantify that. But yeah, there would definitely be, there are other businesses along the corridor. And I guess we could just count them up, and those are potentially, everything from the hotel to the, what is it, Safeway. I think there's a Safeway Steel or something along the east side of 894. The doggy daycares, I think the zoo has 2 already. The zoo is technically in Owatosa. Maybe the maintenance part might be in the West Dallas side, but yeah, it's there's potential. With any new sign like this, I'd be willing to bet there'd be another proposal that would quickly come before the planning commission, and then some of the past sign companies like Lamar or Clear Channel might make a pitch to elevate their signs as well. If they're at, if the ones on the south side of the street are at, let's just say they're at 50 feet now, they may come back and want to get 60 feet. So it's, you don't know where it's gonna. I don't know where it would end. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But there currently is not a limit on height on the corridors.
Well, there's the 10-foot height limit, and the ironworkers got a variance for that back in 2018. So if there are unique circumstances such as the grade difference in the interstate versus the grade of the business, that was the criteria that planning commission varied in that case.
Yeah, I think it's the practicality of reading the ironworkers sign by drivers versus the larger billboards.
Yeah.
And that's why those larger signs to give attendants that ability to advertise strongly and be successful.
I want to thank the applicant for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Your time.
Your time.
Thank you. And back to my colleagues. Any further discussion, questions? Is there a motion?
To deny.
Pardon?
Motion to deny.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could be the motion.
That's what, yeah.
Okay, we got a motion to deny. Is there a second?
A second.
We have a second motion, a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next is signed plan appeal for the Armory Hockey at 1111 West Greenfield Avenue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. As we recall, the Armory is a proposed hockey training and instruction use that is going forward in the site next to Festival Foods. They're proposing a wall sign subject to the sign appeal. The reason for the sign appeal is that in 2021, Plan Commission approved a sign plan appeal for sign master plan for Festival Foods. They were permitted 550 square feet. They were slightly over that sign square footage area. Therefore, any remaining development in this building would need to obtain a sign plan appeal before Plan Commission to obtain any size for signage. The Armory is planning a 108 square foot wall sign on that east facade, just over that main entrance. This exceeds the allowable signage because of the Festival Food signage existing. However, the proposed square footage aligns with other tenant spaces of this size. As we recall within the sign code, the maximum square footage for a sign is typically 125 square feet for buildings of this size. For this tenant space, correct me. However, they are under that 125 square feet, matching other tenants within the West Dallas area. With that being said, we have a recommendation for approval for the sign plan appeal for the Armory Hockey Development Center at 111 West Greenfield Avenue.
We have a motion and a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. What's next?
Project
Dave?
tracking, yep.
Who's going to do that?
I'll do it. All right, we have Pan Asia open tomorrow, July 24th. Antigua patio was recently completed. They had a patio party the other night to celebrate that. Here it is at night during the day. The active construction projects, we have well more listed under here, but we're already at almost 8 p.m. So we'll make this quick. This is the Bars and Rec building. They've got windows on the first floor, replacing those glass block windows, and then they've opened up this area to add additional facade enhancements. Checkers is under construction with a intention for a late summer opening. Three Leaf, the apartments over on National, 85th and National, they're seeking occupancy for a portion of the building to lease out. The apiary is underway, 6,400 apartments, Tsunami Car Wash, and then we have some other users out there as well, including, as previously mentioned, the Bars and Rec building.
Anything else?
Are there any questions on any of the projects?
Questions? I want to thank Emily, Jack, and Steve for your presentations tonight. Thank you for that. And my colleagues for the robust meeting. Thanks for making it happen. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
We have a motion to second. Those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah.